Hi, Sangatji. Welcome to a special final Sikh community COVID catch up. We've had a fantastic 3 episodes, and we've left the best to last. And this is a really important message that we will have out for the Sangat, and will give us that reassurance of what it will be like to get out of lockdown through the vaccine. And it's my honor and pleasure to have a special member on the panel today, and it's Bibi Jaspreet Kaur. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. And it's so good to have you, Jaspreet. A little about Jaspreet. Jaspreet was actually involved in the making of the vaccine. I know we've just had the last episode, we had Nicola Richards, the MP for West Bromwich East, talking about how the Sikh community has stepped up. And we have an individual who has stepped up for the community, and hopefully will keep the community safe. Jaspreet, thank you so much for joining us on this community catch-up. It's an honor for us and our listeners. This is in a partnership with Nishkam and Healthy Brum. And I know you've got a special connection with Birmingham. What is that special connection with Birmingham first?
Well, I actually attended university in Birmingham. So I spent 4 years of my life in Birmingham. Between 2014 and 18, I studied pharmacy. So yes, I've got a very nice, strong connection with Birmingham. Obviously, I love being there. I love the samosa, love going to Soho Road,
Brilliant. Brilliant. And I say from the Nishkam Centre, we are based on Soho Road. So
brilliant.
That's an area that you know really well. Okay, again, so you took this degree in pharmacy, and you passed that pharmacy, and then out of the blue, we went into lockdown, and then the vaccine came up. So what's actually your role in the vaccine? Can you tell us a little bit about the journey?
Yes, absolutely. So as I said, obviously I qualified from the University of Birmingham in 2018, and I moved back to Southampton, where I qualified then as a pharmacist. And I've been working as a clinical pharmacist in a GP practice, practices that have stemmed central Southampton. So I cover 5 practices. And obviously when the vaccine came out, or the first vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine that came out, we were heavily involved in actually presenting the vaccine and obviously giving the vaccine to those in Southampton. So those obviously we worked our way down the priority group essentially. So I was involved in actually not coordinating the vaccine as such, but actually giving the vaccine, diluting that first vaccine. And then obviously our services have expanded, and we are giving the AstraZeneca vaccine as well. So we've been enormously busy on the weekends, through the week, setting up large vaccine clinics. So I actually work at the Royal Southampton Hospital and deliver them along with a fantastic team. Obviously, we've been so busy. We've been doing our normal jobs through the week, vaccinating obviously on the weekend, and trying to do evening clinics when we can. Obviously, trying to kind of increase the speed of the vaccine rollout as much as we can. And I think we've reached 25 million actually.
Wow.
From today, obviously nationally. So it's been absolutely excellent. Obviously, it's been extremely difficult trying to engage people, not necessarily just the Sikh community, but obviously other minority people from other minority backgrounds as well. But generally, as we worked our way down the priority group as well, I think we're finding it a bit more of a struggle to engage people. So, this is a message that goes out to everyone, that, we are working very hard, and it's very important that you actually really try and consider and get the vaccine.
Yeah, and that's what one of our main points of the community that we're trying to do. We're trying to get that message out in a state of an age where obviously bad news flies quicker than good news. And I know when we had the vaccine that came up, everybody was happy. We wanted the vaccine, And as soon as the vaccine is getting rolled out, and it's been very successful in the rollout, 25 million in such a short matter of time. And again, it's the priority groups that have been dealt with first. And that's the way it should have been. So again, that's important. But soon as we start getting negative news, it seems to outweigh the positive news. So it's champions like yourself that are doing the work on the ground that can give the Sangat and the people out there a real, what it's like to be involved in this. So the big question now is, obviously, we in Sandwell, we just had a big variant, South African variant has come into Sandwell.
Yes.
In your experience, how can the vaccine that we have, be it Pfizer or AstraZeneca, be able to fight that variant? Because a lot of Sangat people are saying, oh, it doesn't work for certain variants. So what's your input on that?
Okay, so essentially, just like the flu vaccine, the flu that's been around for many, many years, that's a form of a virus, and that's what coronavirus is. It's an actual virus, and these viruses can mutate. And of course, obviously, through the theory of evolution, we've all mutated, we've all evolved, and that's exactly what these viruses do. Hence why we've got such a different a range of viruses that are now coming out and they are now mutating. Doesn't necessarily mean that they are stronger at all. It just means that they can maybe spread in a different way, and also they can be more transmissible than maybe they were before, which is, I think, what we are finding with these new variants. So I would encourage people to get this vaccine, because at least you have some form of protection. The virus is mutating. Yes, it's changing, but it doesn't mean that the entire virus structure has mutated and has changed. The flu virus, for example, that mutates every single year, and every single year we have a different flu vaccine that comes out to try and counteract that strain. And still people do get the flu, they do. And in this case, people still will get coronavirus, of course, but it will at least give you some protection against these new strains. So therefore, I would encourage to definitely get the vaccine, because you at least are better off having some protection than no protection at all.
Yeah, and that's the message, that's the key message that we are telling people, especially in the older Asian people. It's the two things. It's the language barriers, it's the not knowing, and it's, again, being able to, explain it in that way that you've just explained it, that they need to protect themselves. It's better to have the protection. I always give it back to when you go to India and you have the TB and the hepatitis vaccine. It's in our DNA now. We know we need to get that done before we go. Yeah. So again, it's the same thing. And I say, going back home to India, first thing everybody says, soon as one person has a tika, everybody wants a tika. And
yeah, of course. Yeah,
and,
exactly.
and now it's the question of we are in that situation where people need to have the vaccine, and they need to do that. In your experience dealing with the Punjabi community and the Sikh community in particular, what's been the main issues with them? Have they resisted, or have you had conversations with them on when you're doing the rollout?
So actually, I have been working in central Southampton, where we do have high volume of minority groups. So that's Sikh groups, there's also Muslim people, that's also any form of minority, essentially. And we've actually had, and we've seen an exceptional pull. We've seen many communities gathering together. We've seen a very nice community atmosphere from everyone. And I think sometimes in our community, if there's an ounce of bad news, as you've said, G, that if there's an ounce of bad news, it kind of gets spread very, very fast. And I can sure imagine something that I did want to touch on, for example, was the new recent AstraZeneca vaccine and the side effects that have been associated with them and people getting scared. So, for example, some people have been reported to have blood clots, and they've been removed from the markets in some countries. Now, I was doing some statistical research earlier, and actually, if I could just have a quick read of my notes. 11 million AstraZeneca vaccines have been delivered in this country, and there's been reports about 54,000 side effects, and these side effects are minimal because, of course, we're going to have a needle into our skin. You're going to get injection site reactions, of course, and there've been low-grade fevers, and maybe swollen glands, and these should not persist. These symptoms should not persist for more than 48 hours, okay? And some of these side effects, so for example, if we go on to the blood clot scenario that's come up, 1 in 500,000 people have been reported to receive a blood clot. Now, if I put that into a percentage perspective, that's 0.0002% of people that have had the vaccine will have that side effect. Now, that's really, in the grand scheme of things, people who are diagnosed with a blood clot every single year, it's 0.1%. So actually putting that into perspective, you know, you're at such a low risk, you know. So reverting back to your question about involving obviously the Sikh community and other communities as well, you know, this news can be tainted and it can be seen in such a bad way. And I think we need to focus on the positives, and we need to involve each other. We need to educate each other about the positives, and you know, think about the optimistic, side of things. Really, we have a vaccine. We're lucky to have a vaccine, or not just one vaccine, 3 vaccines which have been approved. All of them have been proven up to 95% effective. I mean, that's exceptional. So I'd like this good news to cascade around people rather than this bad news, and hopefully we can start engaging the community more. If you've got more people that are vocal and more people that can speak about this in such a good way.
Yeah, and that's the key, and that's the reason why we've done this series, because obviously we've done it on the basis of those that don't understand why we need to take the vaccine. Then we've done the testing, and now we're doing the rollout of the vaccine and possible side effects. And again, the figures that you've just pointed out is like 0.1% of, you know, the amount of people that had the vaccine. So it's such a big percentage of, you know, successfully rolling out the vaccine. And again, a lot of people have been saying, oh, it doesn't work on Asian people. I've heard people say that before, but again, our DNA is different and we do react differently to certain types of treatments. But again, having the vaccine and being protected is the be all end all. And what role do you think Gurdwara or the Sikh community can play more in trying to get this positive message out?
So definitely, I know that certain mosques in our area are trying to open up some vaccine clinics as well. And I think definitely we should all kind of lead by example, and we should all lead and follow and educate ourselves and each other that maybe we can open up some of these vaccination clinics at the Gurdwara or outside the Gurdwara, somewhere, you know, where people feel comfortable to go as well. I think a lot of the problem is people don't feel comfortable. So another thing I sort of really wanted to stress on this is that obviously I know you are attending a hospital. A hospital at the moment is kind of considered to be such a bad place to be in, and that's the connotations it has actually at the moment, really. So people aren't even, number one, going for essential help for their essential conditions, you know, like long-term conditions like diabetes, asthma, things like that, and they are suffering in silence. So I would definitely encourage people to really either speak to their GPs, get some help. It can come to them in a safe way, definitely. And you know, number two, okay, if you don't feel comfortable still attending the hospital, I mean, there are precautions, many precautions that are being put in place for everyone entering that building to ensure that, you know, you don't or you're at a much lesser risk of actually getting coronavirus if someone there is infected. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, of course, I think we can start opening up vaccination clinics, you know, outside the Gurdwara, even in the Gurdwara, you know, somewhere where people feel comfortable and kind of at peace where they're going as well. Yes, definitely. Another thing I would also encourage, you know, family members as well, so sons, daughters, grandchildren, to educate everyone, you know, and that works both ways as well. I know some of the younger generation really do not want to have the vaccine. It does work both ways, but you know, once we all gain this herd immunity, we can see things starting to turn back to some form of normality pretty soon.
And that's brilliant, and I really like the way you've summed that up. It is a family and a community all in it together process, and if we all do it, we get the herd immunity there. We are actually protecting not just ourselves, but also the community. And therefore we can start enjoying the weddings, parties, and the
yes, of course.
And again, that is the big thing that we have missed, and having that sangat around us, and a positive mental health. The effects of being locked in our house, not meeting people, in our DNA, Punjabi DNA especially, is really all about that, having the big family, an extended family. Yeah. But it's so good and so inspiring to see someone young like yourself in this situation where you can explain this to our younger audience. And again, I really appreciate that. And I'm going to ask you one final question. So if you're Bibi Ji, I know you love her very dearly. If she says to you, "मैं vaccine लेनी है," what is your answer to her?
So actually, my baby is due to have her second vaccine this week. So she's already had her first vaccine. Everyone in my household is vaccinated. And my baby was really, really, really excited to get it done because she is a very independent lady. She loves going out. She still drives, you know, she goes swimming and she's brilliant. And actually, you know, she was very excited to have it. And I would encourage absolutely everyone to have it. I think just even having role models and people, you know, that you trust that have had the vaccine and have had no side effects or minimal side effects. I think that's really encouraging, that people should be encouraged to speak to everyone and really understand their views and take those on board and get the vaccine. Yes.
And Sangeeta, you heard it there from somebody who's delivering on the front line, delivering the vaccine. She's gonna have, her baby's had the second, is gonna go for a second vaccine. So जरूर to see आपने ਆ ਸੋਚੋ ਵੈਕਸੀਨ ਲੈਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੱਦਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਵੈਕਸੀਨ ਲਿਆਓ Thank you so much, Jas. It's been a pleasure talking to you. One final thing before we end the show, anything that you think that the Sangat should know on this topic, and we'll end it there.
Okay, so another thing I think you should all really know, that something's really important. I think a big scare and a big worry is that number one, the vaccine hasn't been tested on enough people and people, you know, Sikh people. Actually, there were studies done over 6 different countries, up to 44,000 people in different studies. So it has been well tested. All of clinical trials come in about 4 stages, and those stages actually all happened at the same time. So we were testing in a larger group of people to just so that the vaccine rollout could be quicker, essentially. So please don't be worried about that. Another few factors is the vaccine doesn't contain egg, and it doesn't contain any alcohol substances or any meat substances. So there are no contraindications for you to be having the vaccine at all. And one final thing, I'm absolutely open to any questions, any worries, anything. Please just get in touch and I can answer them.
And Sangeeta, we can't ask for any more than that because, you know, Jaspreet is working on this specific project. She is delivering on the work, and she's also offered her support. Please, I say, share this video as far as you can. We are more than happy to, you know, get the questions in and then forward them to Jaspreet and keep everybody safe. So thank you very much, Jaspreet, for your time. This has been brilliant chatting to you. Thank you for taking part in the Sikh community catch-ups. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.